I got a notification. $30,000 withdrawn. Except it was me who made the final move. Because when he disappeared without a word after 5 years together, I made sure he didn't just lose me. He lost everything. The screen of my phone glowed in the darkness of what used to be our bedroom. 3 in the morning, and I was still awake, staring at the banking app notification. The confirmation that I had just withdrawn every penny from our joint investment account. My finger hovered over the screen, a moment of hesitation. Not because I doubted my decision, but because I was savoring it. I fell back against the pillows, a strange calm washing over me. Outside, the city lights flickered through half-drawn blinds, casting shadows across the walls where his photographs used to hang. The dog, our dog Murphy, shifted at my feet, whimpering softly in his sleep. He'd been searching the apartment for Jake for days. Poor thing hadn't understood yet what I was finally accepting. Some people just vanish, and the only closure you get is the kind you create for yourself. My name is Marissa Jensen. I'm 32, work in UX design, and I'm not the kind of woman who usually makes revenge a lifestyle. But sometimes life writes you into a role you never auditioned for. Until 3 weeks ago, I thought I knew exactly where my life was headed. 5 years with Jake had built a foundation I believed was unshakable. We had routines, inside jokes, shared dreams. He knew that I take my coffee with 2 sugars, no cream. I knew that he couldn't sleep without the sound of rain on an app. We'd built a language of our own, made up of meaningful glances and abbreviated conversations. The kind of shorthand that develops when you're certain someone will always be there to finish your sentences. I met Jake when I was 26, fresh out of a brutal breakup and convinced I'd be single forever. He was 29, working as a marketing director for a tech startup, and had the kind of smile that made you feel like you were standing in sunlight. We met at a networking event for creatives, one of those rooftop mixers where everyone's exchanging business cards and rehearsed elevator pitches. I was balancing a plastic cup of mediocre wine and trying to look approachable when he spilled his drink all over my portfolio. "I'm so sorry," he said, frantically dabbing at my leather folder with a cocktail napkin, only making it worse. "I'll buy you a new one. And dinner. And possibly a small island to make up for this." I should have been furious, but there was something earnest in his panic. By the end of the night, I had his number and a dinner reservation for Friday. We started dating almost immediately. The connection was effortless, like we'd known each other in another life. Within a year, we moved in together. Within 2, we started talking about marriage. Not in concrete terms, but in the casual, assured way people discuss something inevitable. When we get married instead of if, plans about children, about houses, about growing old together. We shared a life, a dog, an apartment, vacations, and even a joint investment account. Jake was always talking about the future, about us. We were a team. Or so I thought. Our apartment in Brooklyn became a testament to our merging lives. His collection of vinyl records blended with my art books. My colorful throw pillows softened his minimalist furniture. Murphy, our rescue Labrador mix, claimed the middle of the bed each night, forcing us to curl around him like parentheses. Every corner held evidence of our shared existence. The investment account had been his idea. "Let's build something together," he'd said. "A foundation for our future." Every month, we'd each deposit a portion of our paychecks. Watching the balance grow felt like watching our future materialize, digit by digit. But then, 5 years in, everything changed. It started with delays. He'd come home later, missed dinners, blamed work. Then he stopped replying to texts during the day. Calls went to voicemail. The warmth faded. The man who once couldn't wait to tell me about his day started offering one-word responses. The questions about my day, my projects, my colleagues, my frustrations stopped completely. I told myself it was stress. His company was going through changes. He was up for a promotion. There were layoffs happening. I made excuses for him because that's what you do when you love someone. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You believe in the person you fell in love with, even when they start to feel like a stranger. Then one weekend, he said he was going on a solo hiking trip to clear his head. I need some space to think, he said, packing a duffel bag with meticulous care. Everything's been so intense lately. What's been intense? I asked, watching his hands fold t-shirts with detached precision. He didn't look at me. Just everything. Do you want to talk about it? That's the point, Marissa. I need to not talk. I need to just be for a while. I should have recognized the warning signs, the emotional distance, the vague explanations, the careful way he avoided making eye contact. But love makes you choose blindness sometimes. It makes you deaf to the sound of someone packing more clothes than they'd need for a weekend hike. He kissed me goodbye on Friday morning, a quick peck on the cheek, like he was late for a meeting. Then he was gone. He never came back. At first, I thought something had happened to him. People don't just disappear after 5 years. They don't walk away from dogs and apartments and investment accounts. They don't abandon 5 years of memories without a word. So I panicked. I filed a missing person report. Called every hospital within a 100-mile radius. Called his mother in Michigan, who didn't even know he was gone. What do you mean he's missing? She'd asked, her voice cracking with worry. Jacob told me you two were going to visit your parents this weekend. That's when the first chill of realization crept up my spine. Jake had lied. Not just to me, but to his family. He had created an alibi. This wasn't an impulsive decision or an accident. This was planned. But the truth, when it finally revealed itself, was far more brutal than I could have imagined. A week later, I got a message from a friend, Tanya, who worked in the same industry as Jake. Marissa, the text read, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you should see something. Attached was a screenshot of an Instagram post. Jake, my Jake, smiling on a beach in Tulum with a woman who was most definitely not me. She was tall, blonde, model beautiful. Her arm was wrapped around his waist, his lips pressed against her temple. Her caption? My favorite adventure partner. Day 3 of forever with this one. Soulmates. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the screen, hoping it was old, hoping it was fake. But the timestamp was from that morning, and in the comments, Jake had replied with a heart emoji and just the beginning, babe. The beginning. While he was ending 5 years without so much as a goodbye. Jake had ghosted me. After 5 years, no goodbye. No explanation. Just vanished. And he used our money to do it. I checked our joint investment account. He had moved $5,000 the day he left. The transaction description read, personal transfer. $5,000 of our shared savings, now funding his new beginning with someone else. But what Jake didn't know was this. I'm not the woman you ghost and get away with it. The immediate aftermath of Jake's disappearance was a blur of confusion and pain. I oscillated between desperate concern and crushing realization. Between calling hospitals and scrolling through the Instagram account of the woman who had apparently replaced me. Her name was Valerie. She was a yoga instructor and wellness influencer with 50,000 followers. Her feed was a carefully curated showcase of green smoothies, sunset yoga poses, and now, intimate moments with my boyfriend. I found myself falling into a rabbit hole of digital stalking. Their relationship hadn't started on that beach in Tulum. There were hints going back months, comments he'd left on her photos, places they'd both checked into on the same day. A timeline of betrayal I could piece together through geotags and timestamps. The night I discovered his betrayal, I sat on my bathroom floor, clutching my phone and sobbing until my ribs ached. Murphy pressed his warm body against me, his brown eyes full of concern. When had it started? How long had he been planning this? Had anything been real? He's not coming back, Murphy, I whispered, burying my face in the dog's soft fur. He left us. The worst part wasn't just the betrayal. It was the complete erasure of our history together. On his social media, there was no trace of me. No evidence of 5 years shared. He had meticulously untagged himself from our photos, deleted comments, scrubbed his digital footprint clean of any evidence that we had ever been together. Meanwhile, he was plastering his new life all over the internet, flaunting his escape like a trophy. I spent 3 days in a state of shock. Didn't go to work, didn't shower, barely ate. Friends called and left messages I couldn't bring myself to answer. What would I say? The love of my life disappeared and is now posting couples yoga photos from Mexico with someone else? It sounded absurd, even in my head. On the 4th day, I finally emerged from my cocoon of grief and took inventory of the situation. Jake was gone. He had taken some money and left me with an apartment full of half-emptied drawers and a confused dog. He had not, however, taken everything. I checked the investment account. The remaining balance, just over $30,000, was still untouched. We had set it up jointly, but the account was in my name. I was the primary. He never bothered with the details. Said he trusted me. Trust. The irony was bitter. I made myself a cup of coffee, black, no sugar, and sat down at my laptop. The account login page stared back at me, the cursor blinking in the password field like a heartbeat. I typed in the password. His birthday followed by the name of his childhood street, because Jake was nothing if not predictable. The account loaded, showing our balance. $30,127.84. 3 years of saving. 3 years of planning for a future that would never happen. A future he had stolen from me. Something cold and decisive settled in my chest. I called my bank, verified my ID, requested a full withdrawal. "And where would you like the funds transferred, Ms. Jensen?" the bank representative asked. "To my personal account," I replied, my voice steady. "All of it." The representative asked if I was sure, if I understood this would close the investment account, if I wanted to leave any funds or speak with a financial advisor. "I'm very sure," I said. "The relationship associated with this account has been terminated." When the transaction was complete, I felt a strange sense of calm. Not happiness, not vindication, just peace. Like I'd finally taken back control of something in a situation where everything had been ripped away without my consent. Then I booked myself a ticket to Italy. Not Mexico. I had no interest in chasing him down or creating an awkward confrontation scene on a beach. That wasn't my style. Besides, Jake's betrayal had made one thing crystal clear. He wasn't worth the jet lag. Italy had always been my dream. Jake knew this. We had talked about going there together someday, but he always had reasons to postpone. Work was too busy. The exchange rate wasn't great. His passport was expired. There was always next year. Well, next year had arrived, and I was going alone. Florence welcomed me with warm honey light and the scent of fresh bread. I'd booked an Airbnb in the historic center, a small apartment with terracotta floors and a balcony overlooking a bustling piazza. The building was older than my home country, its walls holding centuries of stories. I wondered how many broken hearts had sought solace within these ancient stones before mine. Standing on the balcony my first evening there, watching the sunset paint the city gold, I realized I hadn't checked Jake's Instagram since leaving New York. For the first time in weeks, I hadn't woken up with the compulsive need to see what he was doing or who he was with. The distance, both physical and emotional, was working its magic already. I spent my days wandering through galleries and churches, filling my eyes with beauty. I ate pasta in tiny restaurants where the owners kissed my cheeks and brought me extra wine because I was dining alone. I learned to say, "Another glass, please," and it was delicious in Italian. I made friends with a group of Australian backpackers and an elderly British couple who invited me to their villa for dinner. At night, I wrote in my journal, pouring out the grief and anger and confusion. I wrote letters to Jake that I would never send, saying all the things I wished I'd had the chance to say. How dare you? How could you? I loved you. I trusted you. You were a coward. Gradually, the letters changed. They became less about him and more about me, about what I wanted, about how I would rebuild, about the future I was reclaiming one day at a time. While he was sipping cocktails in Mexico with his new flame, I was eating fresh pasta in Florence, watching sunsets over the Arno River, and staying in an Airbnb with cathedral views. Every photo I posted was carefully curated. I didn't tag the location. I didn't write angry captions. Just peace, joy, wine, and heels. I wasn't doing it to make him jealous. I was doing it to reclaim my narrative, to show myself more than anyone else that life continued, that I was more than what had happened to me. From Florence, I traveled to Rome, then Venice, then the small coastal towns of Cinque Terre. I hiked along cliffs overlooking the Mediterranean, the same color blue as Jake's eyes, but somehow the association hurt less each time. I met people, shared meals, laughed, started to recognize my own laugh again. 3 weeks into my trip, as I was sitting in a small cafe in Milan, my phone buzzed with a notification. Jake. Hey, can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time, coffee cooling in front of me. 3 words, after ghosting me for nearly a month, after 5 years together. Hey, can we talk? I didn't respond. The next day, he emailed, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just needed space. I forwarded it to my archive, then posted a picture of me on a gondola, laughing with the gondolier who had been singing That's Amore off-key just to make me smile. He called, blocked. He texted from a new number, blocked again. The messages kept coming, growing increasingly desperate. Marissa, please. I made a mistake. Can we at least talk about this like adults? I know I handled this badly. I still care about you. Each one felt like less of a blow than the one before. Each one confirmed what I already knew. Jake hadn't expected consequences. He had thought he could slip away, start a new life, and I would simply… what? Disappear? Accept it? Wait for him in case his new adventure didn't work out? The last message I received from him was a text from yet another unfamiliar number. You took all the money? Seriously? Yes, Jake. I did. Because when you walked away, you didn't just leave a relationship. You left responsibilities, respect, and 5 years of shared dreams. I didn't just cash out an account. I cashed out of us. After 6 weeks abroad, I returned to New York with a suitcase full of souvenirs and a heart considerably lighter than when I'd left. The apartment, which had felt like a mausoleum of our relationship, now seemed like a blank canvas. I spent the first day back cleaning out the last of Jake's things, filling donation bags with clothes he'd left behind, books he'd never read, the pretentious coffee maker he'd insisted on buying. Murphy greeted me with ecstatic joy after his stay at my sister's house. At least someone had missed me unconditionally. The money, what remained after my European adventure, went into a new account, one with only my name on it. Some of it I invested in a small UX design studio I'd been dreaming of starting. Some went into a down payment on a condo in a neighborhood I'd always loved, but Jake had found too noisy. The rest, I kept liquid. A safety net that represented something beyond financial security. Freedom. I expected to feel some lingering sadness, some echo of the devastation I'd felt when he first disappeared. Instead, I felt something closer to gratitude. Jake's betrayal had been brutal and cowardly, but it had also been clarifying. It had stripped away illusions and forced me to confront truths I might have ignored for years more. That I had been compromising too much. That I had been settling for someone who viewed commitment as optional. That I deserved better. 3 months after Jake's disappearance, I ran into Tanya at a work event. Have you heard? She asked, eyebrows raised over her wine glass. Heard what? About Jake and Valerie. They broke up. Apparently, the forever caption was a bit premature. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Not even curiosity about the details. I hadn't heard, I said. But honestly, I'm not surprised. He's back in New York, she continued. He asked me for your new number the other day. And, and I told him to go to hell, of course. She grinned. In more professional terms, since we were at work. I laughed, genuinely amused. Thanks for having my back. Always. She clinked her glass against mine. Though I don't think he needs my help making a mess of things. Rumor has it he's broke. The startup he was working for folded, and apparently his savings mysteriously vanished. I took a slow sip of my wine. How unfortunate for him. Indeed. She raised an eyebrow. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? I just smiled. The truth was, I didn't feel guilty. Not about the money, not about ignoring his attempts to contact me, not about moving on with my life as if he had never been central to it. Because in the end, that's exactly what he had tried to do to me. Erase me. Replace me. Move on without explanation or closure. The difference was, I had done it with my head held high, while he had slunk away like a thief in the night. A week later, I was walking Murphy in the park when I saw him. Jake, sitting alone on a bench, staring at his phone. He looked thinner, tired. His clothes, the same expensive, carefully curated wardrobe he'd always worn, seemed somehow less polished on him now. For a moment, I considered turning around, avoiding the confrontation. But then I realized I wasn't afraid of him anymore. I wasn't angry, either. I was simply done. I walked past him, Murphy trotting happily beside me. For a second, I thought I might pass unnoticed. Marissa? I stopped, turned, looked at him with what I hoped was perfect indifference. Jake. He stood, shoved his hands in his pockets. You look good. I am good. I've been trying to reach you. I know. He waited, clearly expecting me to say more. When I didn't, he sighed. Can we talk, please? I know I messed up. I want to explain. I studied him. This man I had once thought I would spend my life with. This man who had disappeared without a word, who had planned his escape in meticulous detail, who had left me to piece together his betrayal through social media breadcrumbs. There's nothing to explain, Jake. You wanted out? You got out. We're done. It wasn't like that, he insisted. I was confused. I made a mistake. Valerie was... It was nothing serious. Nothing serious? I raised an eyebrow. You abandoned our life together for nothing serious? I panicked, he said, running a hand through his hair. Everything was getting so permanent. The talks about marriage, about buying a place together. I wasn't ready. Then you should have said that, I replied, my voice even. You should have had the courage to have an actual conversation. Instead, you ghosted me after 5 years and stole money from our joint account to fund your escape. He had the decency to look ashamed. About the money, I know you're angry, but did you have to take all of it? That was our future? No, Jake, that was my future. You forfeited your claim to it when you left without a word. I was coming back, he said, his voice dropping. I always planned to come back and explain things. And yet, here we are, months later, having this conversation because I happened to walk past you in a park. I shook my head. You weren't coming back. You were running away. You just didn't expect your escape plan to fail. Murphy was getting restless, pulling on his leash. I looked down at him, then back at Jake. I have to go. Marissa, please. He reached for my arm. I miss you. I miss us. Can't we at least try to fix this? I stepped back out of his reach. There is no us to fix, Jake. I'm not the woman you left behind. That version of me disappeared the day you did. His face fell. So that's it? 5 years and you're just... done? 5 years and you were just done, I corrected him. I'm simply honoring your decision. You want it out? You're out. For good. I turned to go, then paused. Oh, and Jake. The money? I spent it on making myself happy. Every penny. I hope Tulum was worth it. I walked away, Murphy trotting happily beside me, not looking back. The weight I had carried for months, the pain, the confusion, the anger, seemed to lift with each step. Now I'm home, building a new life, one where my peace isn't dependent on someone else's commitment issues. He ghosted me, but I walked away richer, in every way that matters. A year after Jake's disappearance, I received a package in the mail. No return address, just my name written in familiar handwriting. Inside was a small box containing a key, the key to our old apartment, and a letter. I almost threw it away unread. What could he possibly say now that would matter? But curiosity won out. Marissa, the letter began. I know you'll probably throw this away, and I wouldn't blame you. But I need to say what I should have said a year ago, face to face. I'm sorry. Not just for leaving, but for how I left. For being a coward. For hurting you. You deserved better than what I gave you. You deserved better than me. I've spent this year trying to understand why I did what I did. Therapy has helped. So has watching you rebuild your life without me in it. You're thriving. Your design studio is taking off. You look happy in the glimpses I catch on social media. I'm not writing to ask for another chance. I know that door is closed, and it should be. I'm writing because I want you to know that I understand now. What I threw away. What it cost you. What it cost me. The money doesn't matter. You were right to take it. It was always more yours than mine anyway. You were the one who believed in our future enough to plan for it. I was just along for the ride until I got scared. I hope someday you find someone worthy of your trust. Someone brave enough to stay. Be well, Marissa. You deserve every happiness. Jake. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Then I opened my laptop and made a donation to a women's shelter in the exact amount Jake had taken from our account the day he left. $5,000. It felt right. Symmetrical. Then I threw the key away. Some doors are meant to stay closed. I am not the woman I was a year ago. I am stronger, wiser, less willing to accept half measures and empty promises. The pain Jake caused has long since transformed into something unexpected. Gratitude. In forcing me to rebuild, he inadvertently pushed me to build something better. My design studio is thriving. My new apartment overlooks the park where Murphy and I walk every morning. I've started dating again. Cautiously, wisely, with clear eyes and firm boundaries. Sometimes I think about Jake and what might have happened if he had stayed. If we had gotten married, built the life we'd planned. I think we would have been fine, comfortable, safe. But I don't want fine anymore. I don't want safe. I want extraordinary. And sometimes it takes losing everything to realize you never needed it in the first place.